Cultivating present moment awareness, the Buddhist way. Have you ever noticed how rarely we are actually here? We wake up thinking about the to-do list. We brush our teeth while replaying a conversation from yesterday. We eat while scrolling, walk while planning, listen while already thinking of what to say next. Our bodies move through life, but our minds, well, our minds are almost always somewhere else. And yet, this moment, right here, is the only place life is actually happening. The Buddha called this sati, mindfulness, but not just as a stress relief technique, not just something we do when we sit on a cushion for 10 minutes a day. Mindfulness, in the Buddhist tradition, is a way of being, a way of returning to the simple truth that life unfolds one breath, one footstep, one heartbeat at a time. Let's explore this together. What is present moment awareness? To be aware of the present moment means to be fully awake to what's happening now, without judging it, without wishing it were different, without escaping into the past or future. It's like watching a sunset without needing it to last forever, or sipping tea without checking your phone between sips. Sounds simple, right? But as anyone who's tried knows, it's anything but easy. Our minds have been trained, by habit, by culture, even by survival instincts, to constantly seek, chase, analyze. We are wired to anticipate the next moment rather than savor this one. But Buddhism invites us to do something radical, to pause, to simply be. And from that being, something remarkable unfolds: peace, clarity, compassion. Why it matters. When we live in the present, we start to see things as they truly are, not as we wish they were, not through the lens of fear or longing. And this changes everything. Think about the last time you were fully present with someone you love. Maybe it was a conversation where you truly listened, not to reply, but to understand. Or maybe it was holding someone's hand in silence, feeling the warmth, the connection, the shared humanity. That presence, it heals. It deepens relationships. It reveals beauty in the ordinary. When we bring awareness to our own emotions as they arise, without pushing them away or clinging to them, we begin to respond rather than react. This is the heart of Buddhist practice, not to become emotionless, but to meet each moment, joyful or painful, with full awareness and gentle care. Buddhist practices to cultivate presence. So, how do we do it? How do we actually train ourselves to live more in the present? Here are a few gentle but powerful practices drawn from Buddhist teachings. Mindful breathing. The breath is always here, always now. Begin by simply noticing the inhale and the exhale. You don't have to change it. Just feel it. Let your breath be the anchor that brings your wandering mind home. Walking meditation. In Buddhist monasteries, walking meditation is a sacred practice. You walk slowly, feeling each step, grounding yourself in the contact between your feet and the earth. Try it, even if it's just from your kitchen to your living room. Mindful eating. Choose one meal today to eat in silence. No screens. No multitasking. Just you and your food. Notice the texture, the taste, the gratitude that arises when you realize what a gift it is to be nourished. Loving kindness, metta, meditation. Present awareness isn't just about being with things, it's also about being with people, and especially with ourselves. Through loving kindness meditation, we practice sending gentle thoughts of goodwill, beginning with ourselves, then radiating out to others. Reflection. What are you really missing? Here's a question to sit with. What parts of life are we missing when we are lost in thought? We think multitasking makes us productive, but often it just makes us scattered. We think planning makes us secure, but it can also feed anxiety. What would it feel like to bring your full attention to just one thing at a time? Would your coffee taste better? Would your walk feel freer? Would your conversations become more heartfelt? Sometimes, we rush through moments we'll later look back on with nostalgia. The child's laughter, the sunset outside your window, the quiet joy of folding laundry with care. These aren't just chores or passing moments, they are your life. The present moment as sacred. In Buddhism, the present moment isn't just practical, it's sacred. Why? Because it's the only place where awakening is possible. You can't be enlightened in the past. You can't awaken in a future that hasn't come. You can only wake up here. Now. There's a beautiful Zen saying, when you're eating, just eat. When you're walking, just walk. Above all, don't wobble. It sounds funny, but it's deeply profound. It reminds us that peace isn't something we achieve one day when life is perfect. It's something we realize by fully inhabiting this very moment, as it is. Final thoughts, a quiet revolution. So no, you don't need to escape to a monastery to live more mindfully. You don't need perfect stillness or hours of silence. What you need is the willingness to return to this breath, this feeling, this moment, again and again. That, in itself, is a quiet revolution. So the next time you find yourself rushing, worrying, escaping, pause. Feel your feet. Breathe. Look around. Whisper to yourself, I am here. And this is enough. Because it is. Would you like a follow-up video on applying mindfulness in daily work and relationships? Or tips for building a daily mindfulness habit that sticks? Let me know in the comments. And if this video helped you return to the present, even just a little, I invite you to share it with someone who might need that reminder too. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not late to your life. You are here. And this moment is more than enough. Present moment awareness, the Buddhist way. Imagine waking up each day with a profound sense of peace, fully engaged with every moment, and free from the anxieties of the past or the pressures of the future. Sound impossible? It's not. There is a path, timeless, gentle, and surprisingly practical, that has helped people across centuries rediscover the richness of life. It doesn't require a dramatic life change or hours of silence in a cave. Just a quiet shift, from distraction to awareness, from autopilot to attention. And that path begins with one question. What if this moment is enough? We live in a world that constantly pulls us forward. Deadlines, notifications, the next thing, and the next, and the next. We are told that happiness lies just beyond the horizon, after the next achievement, the next purchase, the next vacation. But in chasing what's ahead, we forget what's here. Think about your morning. Did you actually taste your coffee? Or just drink it while checking emails? Did you notice the sound of the birds outside your window? Or the warmth of the sun as you stepped out? So much of life happens while we are too busy thinking about something else. Buddhism invites us to return to the place we've abandoned again and again. This moment. This breath. This body. This now. The power of presence. The Buddha once said, do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment. Why? Because the present moment is the only place where life is actually happening. The past is memory. The future is imagination. But this breath, this beat of your heart, this blink of your eye, is real. And it's from this moment that joy, peace, and even transformation can arise. Present moment awareness, or sati in Pali, is at the core of Buddhist practice. But don't be mistaken, it's not about zoning out or becoming indifferent. It's about waking up to what's already here, and meeting it with gentle attention. When we are present, we become more alive. We notice details we've overlooked for years. The softness in someone's voice, the texture of the wind, the subtle shift in our emotions. We also begin to see ourselves more clearly, not with judgment, but with understanding. And that changes how we respond to life. But how do we actually do this? Let's be honest, being present sounds beautiful, but in practice, it can feel slippery. Our minds are like wild horses, pulling us into memories, worries, plans, regrets. So how do we train this mind to stay here, even just for a little while? Here are a few gentle invitations, drawn from Buddhist wisdom, that anyone can practice. Anchor in the breath. The breath is always here. It's constant, quiet, and free. Try this. Wherever you are, take one conscious breath. Inhale slowly. Exhale fully. Just that. One breath. You're already present. Be with the body. The body doesn't lie. It's always in the now. Feel your feet touching the ground. Notice the sensations in your hands. This simple awareness grounds you back into the real. Practice one thing at a time. Multitasking scatters the mind. Choose to do one thing with full attention. Drink your tea without distractions. Wash the dishes and actually feel the water. Walk without checking your phone. These aren't chores, they're gateways back to the sacred present. Use a bell of awareness. In Buddhist monasteries, a bell rings to bring everyone back to mindfulness. In your life, the bell can be anything: a red light, a phone notification, even a sigh. Let these moments remind you to return, to pause, to breathe. A thought to sit with. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly at peace? not because something amazing happened, but simply because you were fully there for it. Maybe it was watching your child sleep, sitting quietly by a window, or walking through the woods and realizing you hadn't thought about the future for 10 whole minutes. That peace wasn't a coincidence. It came from presence. The good news? You don't have to wait for the perfect conditions to feel that again. You can choose presence, right now. A modern life, a timeless practice. Now, I get it. We live in a busy world. Bills to pay, people to care for, responsibilities that don't pause just because we want to be mindful. But presence doesn't mean escaping reality. It means showing up more fully for it. You can be mindful while cooking dinner, while driving to work, even in the middle of a tough conversation. Start small. One breath, one moment, one choice to be here instead of somewhere else. Over time, those small moments add up. They reshape how you see the world. They change how you relate to stress, how you experience joy, how you navigate loss. And gradually, life becomes less about getting somewhere and more about being with it. Final reflections. The present moment is not perfect. It's not always joyful, but it's honest. It's alive. And it holds everything you need to begin again. So next time you catch yourself rushing through the day, ask yourself, what am I really running toward? What would it feel like to pause and simply be here? Because the truth is, life isn't waiting for you somewhere else. It's right here, in this breath, in this heartbeat, in this exact, unrepeatable moment. So be here for it. You deserve to be present for your life. Unmasking the modern mind's delusion. Have you ever been in the middle of a conversation, but not really there? You're nodding, smiling, saying, but in your head, you're replaying something from last week, or worrying about tomorrow, or scanning the mental to-do list that never seems to end. It happens to all of us, and more often than we'd like to admit. There's this quiet, unsettling truth in modern life. We are almost never where we actually are. Physically present, mentally elsewhere. We scroll through our phones while talking to our kids. We answer emails during dinner. We wake up already running through the day. And when we finally lie down at night, our minds are still sprinting toward the next worry, the next regret, the next unfinished thought. This state of constant noise, constant mental motion, is what I want to talk to you about. Because until we see it clearly, we are living under a spell. The delusion of the busy mind. In Buddhist teachings, there's a word, moha. It means delusion or ignorance, a kind of blindness that keeps us from seeing reality as it is. Today, moha wears a new mask. It looks like multitasking. It sounds like 24/7 notifications. It feels like that uneasy pressure to be constantly productive, constantly connected, yet strangely, never fulfilled. We live with the illusion that our thoughts are facts, that our internal commentary is truth, that the past should have been different, that the future must be perfect. And as a result, we miss what's right in front of us. We think we are thinking, but mostly, we are just looping, ruminating on old stories, projecting fears into the future, measuring ourselves against impossible standards. Mental chatter, the invisible noise. Let's pause for a moment. If you were to close your eyes right now and listen to your mind, what would you hear? Maybe it's judgment. Maybe worry. Maybe replaying that thing someone said to you years ago, as if solving it today will finally bring closure. It's strange, isn't it? We spend so much of our lives in this invisible world of thought, narrating, analyzing, planning, yet rarely question whether any of it is actually helpful. Here's a hard truth. Not every thought deserves our attention. But because we identify so deeply with the voice in our head, we believe everything it says. And so we drift, pulled into memory, fantasy, anxiety, never really arriving anywhere. We live as though the present moment is just a hallway to something better. But that hallway is your life. The digital age of disconnection. And then there's the noise we've invited in. Every day, our attention is auctioned off to algorithms. We tap. We swipe. We scroll. Our devices light up every few seconds, not to inform us, but to interrupt us. We've mistaken stimulation for connection. We check our phones hundreds of times a day, yet feel more isolated than ever. We are overwhelmed with information, but starving for meaning. Surrounded by updates, yet craving depth. And while none of this makes us bad or weak, It does leave us feeling scattered, anxious, and often absent from our own lives. Why presence feels so hard. Have you noticed how difficult it is to just sit in silence? No phone, no distraction, no input, just you and your breath. Within seconds, discomfort arises. The itch to check something, the compulsion to do something, the feeling that you should be somewhere else. But what if that discomfort isn't a sign that something's wrong? What if it's the very signal that you're waking up? You see, presence isn't hard because it's unnatural. It's hard because we are out of practice. We've trained our minds to be elsewhere for so long that here feels foreign. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Unmasking the illusion. So how do we begin to unmask this modern delusion? We start by noticing. We begin to observe the mind, without getting pulled into every story it tells. We start asking questions like, is this thought helpful, or just familiar? Am I reacting to what's real, or to what I'm imagining? What would it feel like to come back to now, just for this breath? Presence isn't about having no thoughts. It's about not being trapped by them. And that's where freedom begins. A personal reflection. I'll be honest with you. There was a time in my life when I felt like I was constantly running. Mentally, emotionally, even spiritually. Always trying to get somewhere else. To fix, to achieve, to become. But one morning, after a long stretch of burnout, I just stopped. I sat on the floor, in silence. No phone. No agenda. Just breath. And in that moment, I realized I'd been living 10 steps ahead of myself, missing the life that was already unfolding beneath my feet. Since then, I've returned to that silence over and over again. Not because I've mastered it, but because every time I come back, I remember what's real. You are not your thoughts. Let me leave you with this. You are not the noise in your mind. You are not your regrets. You are not your worries. You are not your browser history or your notifications or the inner critic that never stops talking. You are the awareness behind it all. And that awareness is always here. Always steady. Always waiting for you to come home. Final invitation. So the next time you catch yourself lost in thought, scrolling through endless updates, or feeling that low-level anxiety of not enough, pause. Breathe. Look around. Ask yourself, where am I, really? And if you're willing, choose to be here, in this moment, with all its imperfection, its mystery, its fleeting beauty. Because here is the only place your life has ever truly existed. If this video resonated with you, consider sharing it with someone else who's been feeling scattered or overwhelmed lately. Drop a comment below. What helps you return to the present? What do you notice when you actually stop? And if you're new to this space, subscribe for more reflections like this, gentle, grounded, and rooted in wisdom that reminds us who we really are. You're not broken. You're just remembering how to be here. The Buddhist path to now. Have you ever wondered why, even in moments of calm, your mind still feels like it's spinning? You sit down with a cup of tea, but your thoughts are already miles ahead. You go for a walk, but instead of noticing the sky or the breeze, your head is full of unfinished conversations or future worries. We live in a time where being present is a buzzword. You'll hear it in podcasts, see it on wellness blogs, maybe even on your coffee mug. But what does it really mean to live in the present? And more importantly, why is it so hard? Today, I want to invite you into one of the most profound and practical teachings from Buddhism, the art of sati, or mindfulness. Not as a technique to master, but as a way of seeing, a path back to yourself, to this moment, and to a deeper kind of peace. Mindfulness, the heart of the Buddhist path. In the earliest Buddhist texts, mindfulness, sati in Pali, is described not as a side practice, but as the very foundation of awakening. The Buddha didn't teach mindfulness to help people relax or clear their minds. He taught it so we could wake up from the trance of unconscious living. At its core, sati means remembering. Not in the usual sense of memory, but remembering to be here. To bring your full attention to what's happening now, without resistance, without distraction, without judgment. It might sound simple, but as you probably know from experience, it's anything but easy. Because we are not just battling busy schedules. We are up against decades of habit. A mind conditioned to wander, to analyze, to react, to grasp for more. Let's clear up a common misconception. There's this idea floating around that mindfulness means having a completely silent mind. No thoughts, no emotions, just blissful emptiness. But here's the truth. Mindfulness isn't about clearing the mind. It's about becoming aware of it. You don't need to stop your thoughts. You just need to notice them. To become the observer, rather than the one swept away by every wave of feeling or fear. Imagine your mind is like the sky. Thoughts and emotions are the clouds. Some days it's stormy. Some days it's clear. But mindfulness teaches us that you are not the weather. You are the sky that holds it all. When you start to see that clearly, something shifts. You no longer feel controlled by your moods. You begin to respond to life with choice, rather than reactivity. Presence, compassion, and wisdom, a sacred trio. Now here's something most people miss when they talk about mindfulness. It's not just about attention. True mindfulness is infused with compassion and wisdom. Think about it. What good is present moment awareness if it's laced with judgment or self-criticism? Buddhist mindfulness invites us to meet each moment with a tender heart. Whether we are witnessing joy, pain, boredom, or confusion, can we hold it gently, the way we would hold a crying child? This is where mindfulness becomes more than a personal practice. It becomes relational. When you're fully present with another person, not checking your phone, not formulating a reply, just listening, you're offering a rare kind of love. A love that says, I see you. I'm with you. This moment matters. And through that loving presence, wisdom arises. You start to see patterns, how craving leads to suffering, how clinging to certainty creates fear, how the ego constantly chases control. You realize that the present moment isn't just a place of peace, it's a place of truth. A simple question that changes everything. Here's something you can try right now. Wherever you are, just pause for a moment. Take a breath. And ask yourself, what is happening in me right now? Not what should be happening. Not what you want to feel. Just, what is? You might notice tension in your shoulders, a flicker of anxiety, or maybe a sense of stillness you hadn't expected. Whatever it is, meet it with kindness. No fixing. No judging. Just witnessing. That simple act, turning toward your experience instead of away from it, is the heart of mindfulness. And over time, it builds something deep, self-trust, resilience, clarity. My own turning point. I remember when I first started practicing mindfulness, not from a book or a course, but from burnout. I was juggling too many things, living on autopilot, chasing some version of success I couldn't even define. And then one day, while eating lunch alone, I realized I couldn't taste my food. I couldn't even feel the fork in my hand. I was there, but not there. That moment shook me. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was so ordinary. I had missed my life without even realizing it. So I started paying attention. Not perfectly. Not all at once. But moment by moment, breath by breath. Washing dishes with both hands. Looking people in the eyes. Listening to the wind again. And in those simple acts, I started coming home to myself. The now isn't a concept. It's a doorway. You don't have to be a monk or a mystic to live mindfully. You just have to be willing to return. Return to the breath. Return to the body. Return to what is right here, without needing it to be different. Because the now isn't a destination. It's a doorway to peace, to compassion, to the kind of wisdom that can only be found when you stop running. And every time you walk through it, you remember, this is where life lives. Not in your past. Not in your plans. But in this ordinary, fleeting, sacred moment. Final thoughts. So if you've been feeling disconnected, scattered, always a few steps behind yourself, maybe it's time to pause. Not to achieve anything. Not to fix yourself. But simply to feel your feet on the ground. The rhythm of your breath. The life you've been living without fully tasting. That's the Buddhist path to now. And it begins, again and again, with you. If this reflection helped you slow down, even just for a breath, I invite you to share it with someone who could use that pause too. Leave a comment. What does mindfulness really mean to you? And if you're new here, subscribe for more soulful, grounded explorations into Buddhist wisdom and the art of being alive. You don't need to chase pace. You just need to come home to it. And home is always now. Practical tools for cultivating sati, mindfulness. Have you ever felt like your mind is constantly running, even when your body is still? Like your thoughts are sprinting through the past and future, while the present moment quietly slips by, unnoticed? In the Buddhist tradition, there's a word for returning home to the present, sati. It's often translated as mindfulness, but it's more than just paying attention. It's a deep remembering, to wake up, to inhabit this breath, this step, this taste, this feeling, fully. And the beauty is, cultivating sati doesn't require a monastery or a retreat in the mountains. It begins with the most ordinary of things: your breath, your senses, your inner voice. Let's explore 3 practical tools you can use every day to cultivate sati and live more awake to your life. 1. The power of the breath, a 60-second reset. Your breath is always with you. It doesn't demand anything. It doesn't judge. And in moments of chaos, it can be your anchor. Try this. Set a timer for just 60 seconds. Close your eyes. And for that 1 minute, do nothing but follow your breath. Feel the air entering your nose, filling your lungs. Feel the rise and fall of your chest. Notice the slight pause between inhale and exhale. You don't need to fix your breath, just feel it. What's beautiful here is that even a single mindful minute can pull you out of autopilot. You may be surprised how long a minute feels when you're fully present. It's not about achieving peace, it's about noticing. Next time you're waiting in line, stuck in traffic, or feeling overwhelmed, remember your breath. You don't need to go anywhere to come home to yourself. 2. Engaging all senses. Mindful eating and conscious listening. Let's talk about eating. When was the last time you really tasted your food? Not just ate it while scrolling through your phone or thinking about your to-do list, but truly tasted it? Mindful eating is one of the most accessible practices for sati. Next time you eat, try this. Take a single bite. Notice the color, texture, scent. Feel it on your tongue. Chew slowly. Taste each note, the sweetness, the salt, the subtle bitterness. And as you swallow, notice how your body receives it. That's mindfulness, noticing life as it's happening. The same goes for listening. Try this experiment. When someone's speaking, listen not just to the words, but to the pauses, the emotion behind their voice, the rhythm. See if you can listen without rehearsing your response. This is hard, but powerful. When you eat, just eat. When you listen, just listen. Your senses become a doorway to presence. 3. Labeling thoughts and emotions. Observing without judgment. Here's a radical idea. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the one watching them. But most of us are so identified with our inner dialogue that we forget to observe it. We think, I'm angry, instead of noticing, anger is arising. We think, I'm anxious, instead of, there's anxiety passing through. Labeling is a tool from Buddhist and modern mindfulness psychology. It's simple, but profound. Next time you feel overwhelmed, try gently naming what's happening. Restlessness. Sadness. Planning. Judging. The goal isn't to push anything away, but to witness it without being consumed by it. Imagine you're sitting on the riverbank, and your thoughts are leaves floating by. You don't jump into the river. You just sit. You just watch. This shift, from I am to this is happening, can create enormous space inside you. It allows compassion to grow, because once you're no longer fighting your inner weather, you can start to accept it, and even love it. So here's the invitation. Take 1 breath consciously. Taste 1 meal with full presence. Name 1 emotion without judgment. Start small, but start, because mindfulness isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you've always been, before the noise, before the rush, before the forgetting. Sati is not a destination. It's a practice. And every time you return to the present, even for a moment, you're building a new way of being. Not somewhere else, but right here. Not someday, but now. If this spoke to you, consider subscribing for more gentle insights from Buddhist wisdom and modern mindfulness. Leave a comment below. What helps you return to the present moment? We'd love to hear your voice. Transforming everyday life through awareness. Have you ever caught yourself reacting on autopilot? Snapping at a loved one? Mindlessly scrolling through your phone? Eating dinner while your mind replays a conversation from earlier that day? Most of us live from one moment to the next without really being in any of them. But what if I told you that awareness, just simple, conscious presence, can quietly transform the way you live, love, and even experience joy? This isn't about escaping to a mountaintop or spending hours meditating. It's about learning to respond to life rather than react to it. To be here, fully, even in the ordinary. Let's explore how awareness, when practiced gently and consistently, can reshape our everyday lives, moment by moment. 1. From reactive to responsive. A path to inner clarity. When life throws something unexpected at us, a rude comment, a delayed flight, a child throwing a tantrum, what's your first instinct? If you're like most people, you react. Instantly. Maybe with frustration. Maybe with panic. Maybe with the urge to fix or flee. But what if there was a small space between the event and your reaction? What if, in that space, you had a choice? That space is awareness. It's the ability to notice what's arising within you before you are swept away by it. Here's a simple practice. The next time something triggers you, pause. Take one slow breath. Name what's happening inside: tension, anger, disappointment. And then ask yourself, what's really needed here? This doesn't mean suppressing your feelings. It means letting them arise, but not letting them run the show. When we shift from reacting impulsively to responding mindfully, we regain our inner power. We become less driven by emotion and more guided by wisdom. And life becomes a little less chaotic, a little more clear. 2. Deepening relationships through presence. Think about the people you love most. Now ask yourself, how often are you truly present with them? Not just in the same room, not just nodding as they speak, but actually with them, mind, body, and heart. We often think love is shown through grand gestures or perfect words. But presence, raw, undivided presence, might be the rarest and most powerful form of love. When you sit across from someone and look them in the eye without checking your phone. When you listen not to reply, but to understand. When you let silence be a shared space, rather than something to fill. That's when something shifts. That's when connection deepens. In today's fast-moving world, presence is a radical act. It tells the other person, you matter. This moment matters. And sometimes, that's all anyone really wants to hear. Awareness doesn't just help us manage stress, it helps us meet each other, human to human. And in that meeting, love grows. 3. Finding meaning in the mundane, the hidden beauty of ordinary moments. We tend to chase happiness in the big moments, vacations, promotions, milestones. But awareness invites us to slow down and ask, what if joy is already here, in the little things we overlook? The sound of rain against the window, the way sunlight falls across your kitchen table, the laughter of a friend on the phone, the first sip of coffee in the morning. These are not insignificant. These are life itself. When we are fully present, even folding laundry or washing dishes becomes sacred. The mundane turns into meditation. Here's a small challenge. Choose one daily task, maybe brushing your teeth or taking a walk, and do it with full attention. Feel the textures. Notice the smells. Hear the sounds. Be in your body. And just for that moment, stop striving. Simply be. You may begin to notice a quiet joy, a soft sense of contentment that arises not from doing more, but from being with what is. In this way, awareness doesn't just add clarity to your mind or calm to your nerves. It awakens your heart to the hidden magic of everyday life. So, what would your life look like if you brought just a little more awareness into it? If you paused before reacting? If you truly showed up for the people you love? If you allowed yourself to find wonder in the ordinary? Awareness isn't something you earn or master. It's something you return to, again and again. Not perfectly. Not all at once. But gently. Compassionately. One breath, one moment at a time. This is the quiet revolution. Not out there in the world, but inside you. And it begins with awareness. If this message touched something in you, I invite you to subscribe for more reflections like this. And tell me in the comments, what's one ordinary moment you'd like to be more present for this week? Until next time, stay aware, stay kind, and stay human.